Alright, so sorry about posting this one so late, but we've experienced a lot of success with it in class, and this will help you since we haven't done it in 2 or 3 weeks for your test. So there's this guy named Pythagoras. I like to call him Joe, but his name was definitely not Joe. And he was alive well over 2,200 years ago. And he was sitting around one day and he developed a formula for figuring out what is across the length of the line across from a right angle triangle. So remember, a right angle triangle has 90 degrees in it, and that's it right there. And the line across from the right angle triangle would be that one right there. That is known as the hypotenuse. A little bit of tricky spelling and vocab that we have to have. And the hypotenuse is always represented with the letter C. We know that this one will be A and this one will be B, and if you've forgotten it, it is A and B. And we also remember that it really doesn't matter which one you decide to make the length A and which one you decide to make the length B. We could easily do this to it, and it would not change our answer at all. But what will change it is if we make sure, or if we make a mistake and don't put C as our hypotenuse. C is always the value across from the right angle, and it's the one that this formula works for. Anyhow, to prove it, these are all squares, and this is where we started in class. And I am going to start this with you right now. We did this, that's length of 3 units. We'll make this a length of 4 units. And we'll make this, well, we won't tell you what that one is right there. And what we want to do is we're going to say that we're going to take a relationship between the area of A and B and figure out C. Well, the area of this area equals length times width, and that's 3 times 3, and that's 9 squared units. If it was centimeters, it would be 9 centimeters squared, whatever you want it to be. We don't really need to have a measurement or a unit right now. If this one here, area equals length times width, and that is 4 times 4, it's a square, and that's 16. I think when we did it in class, we used ones we already knew. So this one here was 5, if I'm remembering correctly. Length times width equals 5 times 5 equals 25. And then I asked if you could take a look and see if you can find a relationship between this number, and this number. And it took us a little bit, but after a few seconds, I remember very clearly that someone was able to say, you know what, 9 plus 16 equals 25. They saw the relationship in those numbers, and it absolutely is. This square here plus this square here equals this square here. And I want you to hear how that's said. This square here, square A, plus this square, square B, equals the total of square C. And that's important. And why do we want to make sure you see that? I'll put that right down. Because that's how it's said. The squared of A plus the square of B equals the square of C. And that's exactly what our formula turns out to be. Our formula turns out to be right here, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We're not going to look at boxes anymore. We're going to look at lengths of a right angle triangle where that's A, that's B, that our hypotenuse is C, and we'll find out that this one, when we square it, plus this one, when we square it, will equal the square of that, or the square root of that in a second. So I want to remind you that that's where we are, and we're going to go to the next page and practice this. When we start, I'll just assign some numbers here. This one will now be a decimal. A question mark, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to draw the right angles in there because they have to be right angles for this to work. We always start with our formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now it's just a simple substitution. We're going to put 6 in there. It wouldn't have mattered if I had called that B and changed the numbers. We're going to put 7 in there and C squared. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. That is still equal to C squared. I add 36 and 49, 70, 85 equals c squared. And that's pretty good. And some kids want to stop there, but we don't want to know what c squared is. We want to know what c is. So something times something equals 85. It's definitely going to be a decimal number. The only way to get rid of this squared symbol is to do the square root of 85 equals c. When I plug that into my calculator, the square root of 85 is, put my pen back, 9.219. I'm just going to round it to 9.23 equals c. And that's it. That's the length of c. We know that could be true because the hypotenuse will always be the longest side. If that answer had turned out to be 6.1 or something along those lines, we know we would have a wrong answer in there because c has to be the largest answer, so the largest length. All right, here's our next one, and we're not worried at all that the numbers are bigger. Bigger numbers do not scare us. We're getting into grades now that doesn't matter. As always, we start with our formula. Formula never changes. Either of these could be A. It doesn't matter which one you're going to do, but this one will be C. Remember, it is called the hypotenuse. You find it across from the right angle. Anyhow, I'm going to substitute. I show my substitution with brackets. Equals C squared. 15 times 15 is 225. 20 times 20 is 400. Equals C squared. Of course, I have to add those together right now. 625 equals C squared. I don't know what times what is 625. Most likely it's going to be a decimal. So remember, we take the square root of 625. 625. And that equals C. So the square root of 625, oh, there you go, is 25. Right on. I didn't know that. Cool. So the square root of this answer here will be 25 units. And our last one for today before we get to just practicing on our own, 5 and 12. Nothing out of the ordinary, just like our last two that we just did. We start with our formula. We fill in by substituting in, remembering to show brackets or put brackets to show the substitution has taken place. 5 squared is 25. Oops, got to put my squared sign. 12 squared is 144 equals C squared. 25 and 144 is 169 equals C squared. And as luck would have it, 169. Oh, sorry, I should not skip a step. The square root of 169 will be C, and 169, the square root of that is 13. So that answer is 13. Now this is as far as we went for the first day. Once you make sure in practice you can do it this way. Remember tomorrow's work, or if you remember what's coming next, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the answer here. I'm going to give you a length here, and I'm going to put the question mark here. So what we're going to have to do is work ourselves backwards using algebra, and that is no problem whatsoever because we're awesome at algebra. So let me save this up, and then we will move on with our next part.